Welcome back to Linux Weekly Daily Wednesdays, where we sit back, relax, take that midweek break, and just kind of have a quick chat about some of the things that we found interesting. I'm Vince Stone, and coming to you from his new place.
Yes.
This one Pedro Mateus. Hey, buddy. What's up, man?
In the lands of Old Britain, what do they call it? Northumbria? Mm-hmm. One of those. I'm in Cambridge now, as I said I would be. Took a bit longer than I originally expected, and it's something that is taking a bit longer is actually my job. So right now, kind of broke, but hey, my financial situation is irrelevant because I'm here for you.
And if you're wondering why his voice is so super silky, it's because you just can't stop our signal. It's LTE. It's kind of brilliant. Yep. So let's just jump right into this business. Is Android really just Linux, Pedro? Question mark.
Well, we've asked this question many times. Basically, everyone who's used Linux and has had an Android phone since they started coming out is like, okay, is this Linux? Is this not Linux? And Android Authority kind of posits the exact same question. Jessica Thornsby goes through the list. Okay, so it uses the Linux kernel.
It's got a Linux kernel, man. I mean, seriously, come on.
In theory, it could be qualified as a distro because it doesn't just use the kernel. It uses some of the drivers. It uses a few of the lower-end systems. Fair enough. And, well, I guess it would be, in that respect, it would be more Linux than what we actually call Linux. A little bit of controversy, why not? Because what we call Linux is what Stallman likes to refer to as GNU plus Linux. But Google went out of their way to remove all of the GNU stuff from Android, or about as much as they could, because they couldn't get rid of it entirely. And, well, that's basically it. Now, there's also to account the fact that Android, as we know it, is a JVM. It's a Java virtual machine running the actual operating system that you see, that you interact with. So that, if you're claiming to run Linux at that point, it's like claiming that if you're running Windows on a KVM on a Linux host, that you're running Linux.
Yeah, man, I don't think we see a lot of people who say, hey, man, I run Linux. It's on my phone, even though they're Windows gamers, unless they're on Reddit. You know who you are. Mm-hmm. But even the Googs itself is moving away from Android, from a Linux-based operating system, to whatever the moon technology they're going to next, partially because, son, Java, not really son, you were cool back in the day, man. That's, yeah, sorry to disappoint you, Steve, but it's the same thing, don't worry. I don't know, man. I ultimately have to say, does anyone genuinely care? I mean, yes, Android is open source AOSP, and you have all the different, well, we used to have CyanogenMod, now we have Lineage, and they basically open sourced everything. I guess the big contention is, Google Apps. There's no access to that, which I can kind of see, man.
I guess the whole is Android Linux or not. The only positive thing that I could ever see coming out of it was maybe ameliorating some of the stigma surrounding the name Linux when it comes to operating systems. Because, okay, sure, most of us watching and listening to this, we're Linux users. So we don't see that stigma as much as a regular person on the street does. You say Linux, they imagine like a DOS prompt. It's like, yeah, no, I don't want to use that. So if you tell people, okay, Android is Linux, then they go, oh, okay, so it's an actual operating system. So in that way, I could see it, but even then, it's, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I think both of us have just arrived as like, don't really care. I mean, your TiVo runs Linux, your Hitachi Magic Wand runs Linux. Everything runs Linux, man. And you're like, but I got something that runs Windows embedded. And you just go, oh, you poor thing. You poor,
on purpose?
Poor
really?
thing. All right. Coming up next, everything's getting hacked. We talked a little bit about it last week, but yeah, man, they want to steal those SSH credentials from Windows and Linux PCs. Is one going to be harder than the other, man?
Not really, although the Windows implant they called Bothan's Pi many buttons died to bring us this information. They apparently it's much easier to deploy, while the Linux implant they call Gerfalcon.
Yeah, right.
Gerfalcon.
I don't know. We'll call it free.
One of those. Apparently, that is a full-blown rootkit that you need to get up and running to have some manner of persistence, and it can then sniff all of the SSH connections in and out of your system.
Mm-hmm.
Now, much like the one we talked about last week, how exactly is this going to be deployed remotely?
Usually with a blindfold and wrenches.
Yeah, this is the CIA we're talking about, so probably. Hi, NSA. Wait, no. Hi, MI6. How you guys doing?
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah, I honestly don't know, because, sure, Linux is about as vulnerable to rootkits once they're up and running as every other operating system. The hardship is actually getting it up and running. How are they doing that?
I mean, this is just more from the Vault 7 leaks, man. And there's just stuff coming out. There's no ooga booga to that. And yeah, I know a lot of people incorrectly, they say, well, I run Linux, I'm hack proof and all that. It's just not a large attack vector. It's not deployed. I mean, it makes sense to come after enterprise, web servers and all this other fun stuff. As an end user, yeah, you're pretty safe. But same thing with Mac. I mean, you're starting to see more and more exploits as people are tricked into buying something with a 80% markup on it. So, hey, that's a thing. Did this article have anything in it that it's like, oh, and by the way, here's a way to fix this or stop this or prevent this? Nope. Nothing?
Again, because they didn't have, they didn't say anything about how it's deployed. So how, they don't.
Well, I guess at the end of the day, man, I'd still sleep safer with my box set in as a DMZ versus running Windows 10, which is going to actively spy on you anyway. So I wanted to talk about this because, all right, not the newest news. This is from June 20th. Kdenlive, my favorite video editor. No, that never forgets. But they're doing a refactoring preview. So, what does that mean? Not a whole lot. They've been working on this since first days of 2017 with the whole point is to clean up and improve the architecture. Kdenlive's code, going to make it more robust, going to make it nice and shiny, and it also marked a move to QML for the display of the timeline. All of things that I can't tell you about because it doesn't work on 1604 LTS with some shader error. I downloaded the app image. Was not having any of it. I was a little disappointed. That could have been the day I finally let go of OpenShot 1.4 from my old hands.
Well, to be fair, the app image, convenient as it is, just download it, schmod it, run it. This particular one, they do say it is for testing purposes only. Part of the code, according to one of the developers, they don't name him. Okay. According to one of the developers, part of the code, the new code, hasn't been fully backported into the version that is currently available through the app image. So it will cause a lot of crashes, and it's probably what's causing your issue, then, with the shader. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I did fire up Kdenlive just to poke around with it after this failed. I haven't even looked at this thing in 3 or 4 years. There's some things they need to fix in that. It's trying to be a bit more clever than it actually is, especially when it comes to doing a final render in Kdenlive. They need to have a big boy grown-up mode because...
It's like, let me pick the things. Okay?
Give me the options. Well, an auto tick? Well, all right, it's not an auto tick. By default, it's set to use one thread to render a video because I was just playing with it. I just stuck together some of our video clips from Saturday's show. And it's like, let's see. Can I, I mean, it's intuitive. It still runs. And I squirrel out and I'm doing stuff around the house, come back and it's like barely moving. It's like, what's going on here? And I was like, it defaults to one thread on render. Anyway, always good to see more stuff in video editing because that really, really makes me happy. And it does concern the stuff that we do.
Yes.
So we got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. Here it is.
Yeah. So you may have heard about it. It was July 9th, 2017 was the day against DRM. And this was a little thing put together, as it is every single year, by a bunch of different companies. They're usually companies that are associated with like the Electronic Frontier Foundation, the Free Software Foundation, whomever else they decide to get together with and do a little bit of an action that day. And this year, if you blinked it, or in my case, if you moved to a new country and was using the internet very sparingly because you don't have a whole lot of data left on your LTE, you probably missed the whole deal. Apparently, Wikipedia was down for a bit, and there were a couple other websites that did the exact same thing. And the featured action this year was to tell Netflix to drop DRM on their original series, which I, for one, agree. It's like, yeah, that's a very good idea, actually. Okay, it's their own original series. They are the only ones distributing it. They're the only ones legally allowed to distribute it. They don't need to enforce DRM on it. Makes sense. So,
unfortunately, it only makes sense to people who know nothing about how original series get made. Netflix doesn't have a studio, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I wish they did. Then they could just go flip switch. No, they purchase this from production companies who make these shows. They have the rights. They negotiate contracts. It's unfortunately, yes. Somebody cut that out. Vin's arguing for DRM. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you how it really works. And that could be a thing. Then we get another thing with net neutrality going down today. I noticed Reddit was having its thing with it. And I think Google gave me a little pop-up at some point today, which net neutrality concerns me more about DRM. I know that it's like, hey, do you want to start a holy war? And I was like, no, this is not a hill I want to die on. The net neutrality thing's weird, man. We might save that for a discussion.
Yeah, the net neutrality, it needs to be finalized one way or the other, because it's not just going to affect the US. It's going to be the whole world, because, if the US can do it, so can we. And basically the entire world's internet is going to start sucking a hell of a lot more than it already does. I said the H word.
It's like, nope, not doing it. Not doing it. Anyway, DRM bad, fire bad. I agree with that. Netflix, it would be cool if they could do it. Maybe it's going to be something that's going to happen in the future. I think we're slowly grinding slow. And, people of our age are finally starting to get into positions where we can make these decisions at these companies and going, listen, I know everyone who's listening at some point has had DRM mess up their viewing experience or gameplay experience, and you were the one who went out and legally purchased, and you're doing the right thing. You're like, you know what? Option number 2 is a lot quicker then.
Yeah, that's why the local video store is not going away anytime soon. Now, just to wrap this up, quick thing. I did enjoy the fact that there were not one, but 2 Portuguese sponsors for the Day Against DRM 2017. D3, that's Digital Rights Defense, and AEL, which is an open education platform in Portugal. Nice. Really nice.
And that's why he moved away, ladies and gentlemen.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, did you put this in the show notes?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
it's
I was going to blame Strider for it, but go ahead.
No. This is just a little bit of Chinese. Every now and again, we'll have a little command line tool that makes either your life...
watching the video at home, ladies and gentlemen, I got this far into it before my brain just went, nope. A Ruby chip? Nope. Out.
Yep. Yeah. So this is color LS. It is literally what it says. It's LS with bling. Then you get icons, you get more colors, you get some advanced functionality, and it is very much built in Ruby.
This is like an NCIS hacker starter pack, man. I mean...
Yeah, no, this is Ruby. The easiest way to get it is to set up gem, then gem install color ls, and then you use lc, which is ls color, short for ls color, and you get access to, you get to see your files on the terminal with some icons and some colors if you're into that, Strider.
I'm just glad we're not in the same studio, because if I had to deal with you or Strider, like with my eyes would bleed. What's wrong with you people? In my day, it was monochrome, and we liked it. And
so apparently, cool. Someone found Jitsi to be a bit too complicated.
It's not even that. It's Hezam Sarif. He was like, nope. It's not a clickbait story. Don't worry, man. It was a website called MeetSpace. Don't look that up with safe search off, children. Provided simple video conferencing and all that. And he's like, oh, bam, plans and pricing, which those guys are hard. What the expletive deleted, $29 a month for 6 users. People are realized to pay for such a service. It's like, okay, that's the thing. So, grab some Node.js, hack together WebRTC, boom, he released a thing similar to MeetSpace. And you can just launch it and run it, and that's pretty cool. He threw it up on GitHub. It's something I might play with in place of setting up a full-blown Jitsi server, which it's a little bit of work. It's not impossible to do. But this is, get a team together. Now, one might say, well, if you're anti-Google and all that, you're always going to have that one person on the team that refuses to use Hangouts. You know who I'm talking about. This could be good, right?
It could be, but his wording in the paragraph that it starts at, then I realized people are willing to pay for such a service because no one wants to go through the trouble of setting up a video conference applications like Jitsi. Yeah, because it's really hard to go to meet.jit.si/a-room.
No, that's not what he's saying.
You're set up.
You're missing the point, Brad. I think he's saying for collaborative work, he didn't want to have it hosted by, you'd have no control over Jitsi and what data they collect or anything like that.
At that point, you would need to set up the server yourself. But what he created, as far as I could tell, because I didn't download it, because, again, metered, very much metered right now. But it's very similar to what meet.jit.si currently offers.
It's a stripped down version. It does, but it's kind of what I'm looking for. I'm going to play with this because really all you want is just voice video. That's one thing. Jitsi is like, hey, you want some kitchen sink with this? And I was like, no, to the point where I have to use ad block to disable the whiz bang slide in, slow down.
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff.
So, yeah, this might be something fun to look at. And let's face it, Skype. Hey, Skype, you're supposed to pull the plug on this at the beginning of the month. You're running behind. I kind of didn't think they were going to. I kind of called their bluff. I was like, yeah,
you did. And it's like, I was one of those people that was saying, yeah, it's Microsoft. They're going to do it. But they didn't. So,
and I was right beside you. And I was like, listen, buddy. They're that stupid, but I don't think they're that stupid. I mean, like we might only be arguing by a micron of difference, but
yeah.
So that's definitely going to be a thing. But before we get out of here, let's touch
last bit of news.
This. Yeah, man. So the Ubuntu developers uncertain about using Wayland by default in 17.10. Yes, the desktop lead said he feels Wayland isn't ready yet, to which everyone responded, yeah, chicken egg thing. How's that work again? And it's definitely a thing. I mean, this comes from OMG, Ubuntu, co.uk, all this business in the show notes. But yeah, what did he say? My gut feeling is that Wayland isn't ready yet. And that's just a bit. This is quite a bit of a story out of nothing. But here's the dice. This is the only reason I wanted to bring this up is, the understandable uncertainty when it comes to Wayland. And, you can understand the Ubuntu team kind of being a little on edge about X servers, right? Like,
yeah,
mirrors the future.
Especially considering their own graphical server that didn't go anywhere.
But no, it was from our mobile. Wait. Listen, the only way we're going to see Wayland really do it, because, Wayland's been coming in 6 months for 5 years, man. So
since Fedora 17, I think.
Way back when. the only way we're going to see it is for all the major distributions to go full Wayland. Yeah, I know. Don't ever go full Wayland. Do it. You got to do it. It's not going to be pretty. There will be growing pains. It'll be horrible. It'll be a nightmare escape of nope when it's a thing. But it still needs to be done. And I say this. I'm not sitting back. It's like, well, it won't affect you. And it's just like, oh, you think. My entire production, my tool chain, my production chain will be jacked up, son. It had to be burnt to the ground and rebuilt. And it's like, but X compatibility, man. It's like, I expect maybe 20% of that to work at first. I mean,
if we can play our games, and NVIDIA kind of need to pull a summer and get all of their stuff, put it in a bag just so it's together, because they are not supporting X Wayland. They support Wayland if you just want to run Wayland. That's fine, you can do it. But if you want to use the proprietary drivers with X Wayland, like say you were trying to run a video game that is not SDL2 compliant when it comes to the graphical middleware, you're boned. Right. And when I say games, I mean everything.
I mean, people are not. And this is going to be the big nightmare. I think with Wayland is not third party yet, but all the smaller open source projects out there that. Oh, I don't want to be in the receiving end. But that's...
there's a lot of stuff that we rely on that isn't exactly supported, and it's still very much dependent on X. It was made for X.
Well, I mean, X runs on an oscilloscope from the 80s, so... It's got backwards compatibility. But... I mean, I feel the team at, I feel their feels with it. It's like, it's not ready, but I also have we got to do the trial by fire. This is going to happen. You can't just keep kicking the proverbial chainsaw down the road a few more meters and go, we'll deal with it next year, because then it's going to be 2046, and we're like, get the next release, guys. We're going to implement Wayland 100%. And then again, there is something to be said towards AMD and more so NVIDIA. It's like, where's the popcorn? And by popcorn, I mean the accelerated driver support. So, that's definitely a thing. Hey, Pedro, there's a bunch of beautiful people currently, even right now, joining us live that make this show, not just this show is a Patreon goal that we have crushed, and we're just rocking on with it. But another show we do on Saturday nights where we've been covering gaming for the last 5 years. We've basically archived it. Thank you, everyone. Make that possible.
Every single one of you, even just those teeny tiny donations that you happen to find. Oh, look, I have some not something Bitcoins. Maybe I can send some magical internet monies. You can. There's a QR code on linuxgamecast.com. If you hit the support button, there's a QR code you can use. It's kind of awesome. And if you want to be really awesome, patreon.com/linuxgamecast. There are, well, today I am unprepared. I don't know how many people we have on Patreon right now. Let's open it up and check. We have, as my internet struggles, 109 Patreons. Thank you. Thank you all.
Beautiful party patrons. Hey, man, if you're Patreon, you get access
$191 a week.
It's kind of amazing. And we're kind of MacGyver when it comes to money. We're doing, 1, 2, 3, 4 shows off that. We'd like to do more. We have some goals up there, some new stuff, because this all ends with us in a log cabin in Kansas, and that nightmare fuel will unfold live. It will be brilliant. But as a patron, you get early access to basically a lot of cool stuff we do. Then you're going to get naming the credits. Stick around. That's kind of fun. And on top of that, access to our pre super shows. And it's a whole hour-long show. And you're like, oh, well, let's do another hour-long show. They just be like, hey, man, just support those who support Linux then. All right?
Yep.
But it's kind of brilliant. Thanks, everybody, for doing that. Thanks, everyone, shopping through those affiliate links, because we get a little bit of that taste. We get a few shekels, and if it doesn't cost you anything, you're going to buy it in its Prime Day and all that. That's fantastic.
It's Prime Day. Use those affiliate links.
Exactly. I used another show's affiliate link when I ordered the green screen, which I'll be talking about on Saturday, maybe showing off. And we do have that wish list, which is stuff that we're buying. We're going to buy it anyway, yes. But if you want to throw that cheat mode in there, had a bit of delay on the funds for the Ryzen, but that just reset for about another 4 more weeks. So we're slowly chugging along. Yeah. Thanks again for making this possible. It's awesome. All right. Let's do a little bit of pie before we get out of here.
Yum, yum. The slice of pie. We have 2 of them. 2 of them this week. And the first one is something admittedly that caught my eye, which is Octopi. The raspberrypi.org website. Every now and again, they post a couple of stories, interesting stories. And today, or not today, when was this? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm just looking at that lime green Pytron. I just want to kick it. I don't know why.
Yeah. It was July 7th. Oh, that's the day I moved. Yeah. So they were talking about how you could get an Octopi cluster going. What's an Octopi? That's basically 8 Raspberry Pi 3s in a cluster. So you get 32 cores, 32 ARM cores of computing power. And I was thinking about it. It's like, okay, 32 admittedly ARM cores plugged into that lime green Pi top. You could do a lot with that. That's actually kind of awesome. And they do give you a tutorial. If you click on the link that says build your own Octopi, you get a very comprehensive tutorial. So they do a really good job with that. If you happen to have 8 Raspberry Pis kicking around, right now I have none because I'm pretty sure I forgot mine. Yeah. So yeah, if you have 8 Raspberry Pis kicking around, something to look at.
It could be fun. Outside, I was looking at their cryptography implementation. I was like, all right, that's kind of neat. Outside of that, other than just in case you still post on Slashdot and somebody ever says, well, what about a Beowulf cluster? I was like, done. Got it right here. It's a thing. School project. Go for it. If you teach the kids or if you have a makerspace, man, I think this is a good educational thing. Again, send us some feedback. We're about to get into the feedback. I'd like to read some feedback next week of some of the awesome things that we should be able to do with that or not do with it, but still kind of do it anyway. But before we get out of here, brewing your beer with Linux, Python.
Where's Shady when we need them?
It's going to taste like silicon and burning. A handy how-to for building homemade homebrew setup with Python and a Raspberry Pi. So, yeah, this is basically setting it up to take care of your temperature control and all this other fun stuff that this horrible, evil person... Oh, no, don't do it. He basically just wants to suck all the fun out of brewing your own beer, man. I mean...
just opening up a browser and having everything, all the information, what's going on your browser right there. Who needs that?
I get it. Listen, I'm a big enough dork where I would do something like this. Again, just like I did a thing, but no, every batch is supposed to taste different.
Yeah, that is the magic of homebrew, right?
Also, I don't care that you're brewing beer, but if the SWAT team breaks in your house and they see that,
drugs. You're making drugs, boy.
Listen. You're completely innocent, but you're spending the night in jail. All right, I'm just letting you know that will be a thing that will take place. But no, it's got its own software. It seems pretty easy to set up. Fermentation control, temperature chart, PID controller, heat pump valve. To me, it just sucks all the sport and the random chance out of it. But hey, man, if you find something that you brewed and you want to make it again where it tastes remotely the same, something that I've never accomplished in my entire life, go for it, man. I think that is pretty wicked
even fun. Better if you already have something like this set up with a Raspberry Pi helping some step of the way. Take a picture, send it to us over the feedbacks.
Yeah, that'd be great. Nice. You know, when you get rated, we'll just have the little video. No. Hey, we like talking to you. Come talk back to us because we are just at our 30-minute mark, so we're going to try to get out of here. Hit that contact button, linuxgamecast.com. That's where we post all of our awesome insanity that you can watch on demand or get the podcast RSS audio feeds. Or if you listen to that, we have video for people who listen to the MP3 versions. And just make sure you select the correct show. We're doing 2 shows currently. We'd like to do some more. That might be something we'll talk about. And security question. And you end up here, like Rexler, because last week, Pedro, we were talking about Pop from System 76. And before we get into this, there will be a link in the show notes to the full comment. Okay, the full comment.
Yeah, it's a big comment.
Yeah.
It was a big comment.
This is some cliff notes.
Yeah, so we were talking about last week because System 76 released pop_bang_OS. I don't know if that's how they want people to call it, but that's how it's written.
Oh, they do. Guaranteeing it will never be referred to that because, yeah, it's been pushed a little hard.
So Rexler says, I personally believe Poop OS was a mistake. I am a System 76 customer, purchased several of their netbooks back in the day. I'm currently own a laptop and a desktop. I have been pretty happy with the hardware and OS. I always install the System 76 PPA if I wipe to install Ubuntu again. I wouldn't have too much of a problem with System 76 if they handled their announcement of their new OS, quote unquote, differently. I do not tolerate corporate propaganda. Ooh. And this is where System 76 made a huge mistake. Overall, Poop OS is unnecessary. The company knows this, so they had to invent a story to justify its existence. Instead, they should just have said that we want to make our own OS because we can. I think more of us would be like, okay, go for it. We will just continue to use Ubuntu. GG.
I don't know, man. It's like they had to create their own story. And it's like, once upon a time, there was a kernel and a compiler that loved each other very much.
I think I know why Rexler had to create his own story.
Oh, right.
Because this all came with System 76 doing this whole campaign thing of join the revolution. And they were doing a lot of that. If you follow them on Twitter or on Google Plus, you saw that.
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And Rexler was one person who apparently bought into the whole join the revolution thing. Because I saw him post on the Linux gaming community on Google Plus. It's like, oh, okay, it's that thing that System 76 are doing. Sure. And then they revealed that it was just Pop OS. And I'm guessing he felt a little betrayed. I don't blame him, honestly. If I was that into System 76 as a community, as not a corporate entity out for my money.
One of us. Wait, you...
Yeah, if I was that much into System 76, sure, I would probably feel betrayed, but dude, come on. It's just marketing.
It's the marketing department, and okay, that's the thing. I understand it. I mean, we're all tailless monkeys, and it's that tribe mentality, especially if you start off, it's like, I have several System 76s. It's like, woo, those things are pricey. I think they make decent. The high-end stuff they make decent. I haven't had a chance to look at the low-end stuff. I've seen a couple at the Athens lugs here.
Yeah, I remember seeing one of the old netbooks that Rexler actually brought up. Mm-hmm. They were all right because they were 64-bit netbooks when most of the netbooks at the time were 32-bit. I had one of those 32-bit ones, so yeah, I kind of always wanted one of those, but then I started to realize, oh, okay, so System 76, just Clevos, slightly more expensive. Cool. Right.
Again, you're paying for the support.
Yeah.
You know, ultimately, that's the thing. If you buy a pre-built, then that's what you want, is a good support. And they seem, over time now,
and I think
they've gotten better with their support. Yeah, so it's not such a big issue. I don't have anything against it. I say more distros, the merrier, because I always say, step one, wipe whatever's on it and install a generic distribution. It's 2017. You're not going to find any like super secret special hardware, basically, in any device outside of a Mac. But, you know, your Ubuntu's, Fedoras, your Arch is just not going to pick up out of the box. I mean, chances of it's going to suck a lot of fun out of it because you'll be like, oh, man, I got a new box. I'm going to be, perusing the GitHubs, finding something, building a kernel driver.
Oh, wait, no, this is a Linux box. It just works out of the box.
Cool. And Susie and all that fun stuff. But hey, man,
Susie,
again, I totally understand why System 76 did it. It's an image. They can go, boom, they know what's on it. And as long as they don't, well, I'm pretty sure somewhere in the mice type on the things is like support only valid if you're running pop.
That's probably going to be a thing, yeah.
Which, again, well within their rights, and it makes life easier, because I've been saying to a lot of game developers for a long time, is you don't need to do SteamOS, but in your system requirements, Feral does it now. You know, and it's 1604 LTS, get it done. And they're like, but it doesn't work with Moon Magic 6 version running rat poison. They're like, that sounds like a personal problem, right?
It wasn't rat poison. Well, what was the one that Iculus said that every single non-reproducible bug that he encountered?
No,
Awesome?
It might have been Awesome WM.
Yeah.
It was something. We'd have to go back and check that out. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, that's going to do it for this week. We managed to pull it off. LTE stayed in one piece. It was brilliant, and we'll see you next week. Hopefully.
Indeed. Yes. Hopefully next week I will already have, even if it's just crappy UK broadband, but I will have a fixed internet connection. Hopefully. Now, Saturday, though, I will not, so I think MT will be taking my place. You know MT. He's been on many shows as either...